Okay, so this video is more off the cuff and just me rambling and talking about this idea of I hear people talk about right brain versus left brain thinking. I've heard this a lot recently from a different couple different YouTubers I watch, where left brain thinking is far more analytical and numbers driven, and you kind of think more deterministically, right? Right brain thinking is far more, I guess you can say, artistic, creative, and almost more like you value art and the things that you can't really quantify more in life. And people say like the extremes of both is extreme left brained is autism, extreme right brained is schizophrenia. Right? So if you see those two, you'll see what happens. I think we live in a heavily left brained world where we just view things as if it's not numbers, if I can't measure it, it doesn't exist, right? If I can't measure it, it doesn't exist. And I think ignoring these invisibles, I had another video on this already, but ignoring these invisibles have allowed us to suffer in a way that is unquantifiable. But we all feel it, right? We all feel that things are weird and that things don't feel the same, or not even the same how I feel like I should feel, right? With all this technological progress. Like I'm talking to a moving camera on my computer screen right now, and people are still struggling to pay their bills and struggling with other things. And why is it the way that they are, right? And I think we think our solutions that we come up with is just more money. Throw more money at it and it solves these problems. And I think we've seen time and time again that more money doesn't always solve the problems, because we see that there's people with tons of money that are just completely unhappy, right? Like I've met people that have tens of millions of dollars that are very unhappy, right? Like it's never enough, right? And that's another problem to solve. And you're probably thinking right now, if you gave me 10 million, I'd be super happy right now. It's like you probably would be for the first 2 weeks until you get used to it. Like everyone adjusts to things, right? And once that becomes your new normal, there's things that you have right now that you wish you had a year ago or 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are living the lives that they prayed for or they wished for 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Or maybe you're not, right? But there is something in your life that you may have now that you wish you had. And now that you just ignore it because you've had it, right? And it's almost like a fault of being ungrateful. And by the way, this video is not something where I have a solution to. I don't have a solution to this, right? I think that someone in the comments, like I always ask for ideas. I love ideas. I do think that we need a balance where I think a lot of people in our world, we're super analytical, engineering, mechanistic in our thinking, where I think we need a little bit more right brained, where we're looking at the unquantifiable and making it quantifiable perhaps, right? Because maybe you're blind to things if as a mechanistic thinker, a left brain thinker, where, you think like if this, then this, right? Where like computer coding, if this, then this. And maybe if you don't know about something and you don't know that this thing is important to people, it makes it really hard to understand that people care about that, right? Where I just had a video I just recorded right before this talking about MARTA and MARTA's expansion. If you don't know what MARTA is, it's the main rail system in Atlanta, Georgia. And a lot of people blame crime stats for the reason it doesn't expand. And I don't think the crime stats matter as much as you think. I think a lot of it is the general vibe of riding MARTA does not feel good. And even if you're not going to get robbed or touched or anything like that on the train, I do think people care about the vibe and the perceived value that you get from experiencing something like MARTA, right? And the perceived nature of it, right? The what people call the aura, right? People in my demographic, right? They call it your aura, right? Where the aura of something does matter, but it's unquantifiable, right? And we never talk about what does it take to have, but you can break down what does it take to have aura, right? I mean, you can do this, you can do that, you can do these things, and will you have aura? And it's like, try it, right? Like, I think a lot of the time there's some things that like you can quantify all these things, but who came up with the quantification and are they right? right? Like if you just lower the crime stats, but I still don't want to ride the train because, it's empty. You know what I'm saying? It's something like the train benefits a lot from network effects, much like social media, right? Where social medias feel kind of boring when there's nobody on there, right? But when there's a constant influx of posts and new things to see, it makes people want to use it more. And the more people that want to use it, then feed the network effect of it, exponentially growing. And that's just for trains and such, right? But for other things, it's just like we're not thinking about the things that we can't measure, but we know exist. And maybe coming up with a way to measure it and the right tool to measure it. And I'm not just saying one way. I think we should measure things in a multitude of different ways, right? I believe in distribution of power and distribution of everything. So if we distribute our way of measuring things and we add, like, let's just say, how do you quantify love, right? Well, divorce rate, love in a culture, right? So divorce rate, we'll look at marriage rate, length of marriage, but it's like, okay, people stay together, but they don't love each other, then, you can game that, right? Where we can make divorce extremely hard and a divorce really hard for the woman and the man, right? Where the man isn't just losing half of his stuff. The woman also doesn't get it. The government gets it. And it's just like a big fine that you have to pay. So then people just stay together, right? You can game it and then you end up saying, hey, look, we have more love in our culture. But it's like, is that love or are they just incentivized to stay in love, right? And it's like finding the ways to actually measure it in a way that you can't really deny is the hard part, right? Finding, and like my buddy Paul, he watches all my videos. He always talks about the data. And I think having the data is important, but knowing which data points to use is even more important, right? And the blend of what points to use. Because that is actually what leads to understanding, not just the data in itself. It's just knowing what points, what to use and when, and if those points actually lead to something that you're looking for, right? Because what are you actually looking for? Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I was told not to say in my videos as much, but it's just kind of me. All right, see you in the next video. Peace.